Our next speaker couldn't make it, so he sent his letter to us. Tim Dawson, Deputy General Secretary, International Federation of Journalists, and Ms. Naomi is going to read on his behalf.
Yeah, I'm very honoured to have the opportunity to read this message from Tim Dawson, from the International Federation of Journalists. Here we go, on Mariam's iPad. The natural reaction to the bombardment experienced by Gaza's journalists would be despair. Nearly 11% of media workers in the enclave have lost their lives, a mortality rate more than 6 times higher than the general population. Almost all have lost their homes and are living in tents. Bereavements are commonplace. They have little food and water. Lack of fuel forces them to walk to work carrying equipment on their shoulders. The whole strip has experienced something nearly without precedent in human history. A tiny, sealed parcel of land whose population has been subjected to the full horrors of modern warfare. The journalist predicament has been exacerbated by the exclusion of international journalists from Gaza. After 7th of October, Israel sealed Gaza's borders and has prevented outside reporters from freely entering. Despite their extraordinary suffering, Gaza's journalists have continued providing the world's media with words, sounds and pictures of the tragedy that has befallen Gaza. Help has come from journalists around the world and their unions. From the outset of the conflict, the International Federation of Journalists sent funds to PJS, I assume that's the Palestinian journalists, that paid for individual blast trauma packs and batteries for cameras and other equipment. As the conflict and the death toll mounted, journalists and their unions around the world have responded with extraordinary solidarity donations to the IFJ's Safety Fund. The National Union of Journalists in UK and Ireland and its branches and chapels has been the most generous by far. £20,000 came from the union centrally, and many branches, among them London Freelance Branch, have made donations of several £1,000s. The IFJ's next initiative in Gaza will be the opening of 2 solidarity centres to provide journalists with support and a space to work. While immediate efforts aim to sustain Gaza's journalists, the IFJ is also working to ensure that those responsible for this carnage are held to account. 2 years ago, the IFJ lodged complaints about the IDF targeting journalists with the International Criminal Court. The best known of these cases is that of Shireen Abu Akleh, but she is one of many believed to have lost their lives to IDF gunfire. To these cases will be added some from the current conflict. How many has yet to be determined, not least because of the extreme difficulties in compiling sufficient evidence after such devastating bombardments. The application of international law when so many journalists have lost their lives is absolutely critical. On the basis of progress to date, however, international bodies will need to work hard to keep this issue at the top of the agenda if the ICC is to be kept to its word. Given the resilience demonstrated by Gaza's brave reporters, as members of the international community of journalists, we owe them nothing less. Avoiding despair against such a terrible backdrop is an example to every journalist who has thought the odds against them were insurmountable. It is a demonstration too of the power of international solidarity. To really serve all those who rely on us for information, journalists have to stand together. That is what I have come here tonight to tell you. That's what Tim Dawson has sent a message to tell you. That is why you have come here in such numbers. We must demonstrate that journalists around the world recognise what is happening to our colleagues in Gaza and demand that they suffer no more. We honour those who have died. We demand that the killing must stop, and we insist that journalists from Gaza and the rest of the world must be allowed to do their work, free from impediment or the risk of slaughter.
Thank you very much.